And now we have Nicole Majik. Nicole has an interesting and extensive background with a bachelor's degree in biology, chemistry, and metaphysics, and experience as a financial advisor. She is an accomplished leadership and empowerment strategist and educator, and has created a highly effective life transforming empowerment program, the Alchemy of Transformation, which she has trademarked. She awakens your true potential by erasing limiting beliefs and showing you how to live a life you deserve without compromising who you are or what you love. Nicole has appeared on various radio shows, local TV, and as a keynote speaker for international conferences, and has even appeared on the Travel Channel for Greatest Mysteries, Smithsonian, as well as Beyond the Unknown. She recently filmed the Jeff Hayes film for Hacking Happiness, a documentary scheduled to release in 2023. Using the strategic formulas of her empowerment program, the Alchemy Transformation, along with CBT and NLP techniques, she helps you permanently erase self-sabotaging beliefs and transform your obstacles into the opportunities to achieve the success you desire. I'm your host, Brittani Starr, and this is the Brittani Starr Show. Please welcome to the show, Nicole Majik.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm all right.
Nice. Nicole Majik. So you actually trademarked.
Trademarked. Yeah.
That's super cool. So you trademarked the Alchemy of Transformation.
Yes.
That is super cool. What does your background say?
Transform, empower, and align.
Perfect. Did you design that?
Yes.
Nice. Nice. So, okay, so I want you to, can you go back to the beginning? What made you go like, you know what? I'm gonna help people transform their lives.
It's a compounding factor. Growing up in an environment where I felt very stifled and not accepted for who I was because I was a little different.
Hmm.
Moving into the space where, in my teen years, I basically got along with everyone, but also felt very alone. And then in my adult life, moving into that space of making the decisions that were good for what I was good at, and yet didn't feel very empowered or like I was making the impact that I really wanted to make. Couple that with nearly dying from mercury poisoning and also having a near-death experience on a spiritual level. Everything changed after that near-death experience, and the mercury poisoning came after that. So those two things combined really put me in a space where I had to fight for my life, and there was no one to help me. So going through that really put me in a position to figure out what the heck I was doing here. What did I really want? Nothing else actually mattered except what I wanted in my life. So that began my journey to overcome all the challenges and obstacles and create the life that I wanted, regardless of what anyone else perceived of me, wanted of me, expected of me, or demanded of me even. And that way there, I moved into that space of creating the alchemy of transformation, because I looked at it looking back after I finally saved my life
Mhm.
and got into a place of, wow, had I not had these things already set in my brain, and then the ability and the drive to move forward, not give up, and find that strength within, love myself enough to do so, that there's so many people out there that would have just given up in despair. And I wanted to show people a way that was easy, that it wasn't going to be so hard and exhausting, and that they didn't have to put so much time, effort, and money into creating the shift that they wanted or needed in their life. Because there's a lot of charlatans out there.
That's very true. So Nicole Majik, can you tell us the magic of this? You just talked about a near-death experience. Can you go into more detail and explain to us like what happened, and so maybe others can connect with you as well?
Absolutely. How much detail do you want? I'll kind of give like that surface
Okay.
if that's easy. And then if you want more detail, you can just ask me to go in detail. Basically, I was driving home from work. I worked as a chemist in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was traveling down the Massachusetts Turnpike during rush hour traffic. I usually got out of work earlier to avoid that, and I had to stay later for very particular reasons. So it put me in that space of, oh my God, it's going to take me an hour and a half at least to get home now. And as I was driving down, there was a lot of stuff that was happening. It felt a little surreal, kind of like before a storm, when you feel that almost static energy, or it feels a little surreal. There's just a little bit more electricity in the air. And it felt a little bit like that. And there was a car that was down in a ditch, and it was smoking. So there were a lot of people that were eyes on that. And I know a little better than to watch all the stuff that's going on and take your eyes off of what's in front of you. So I was maintaining that focus when all of a sudden I just felt that my face was being pushed to look across the Jersey barrier on the other side. And I did see this car with this smashed in driver's side door. This beautiful woman, she had this beautiful hair. I couldn't see her face, but she had this beautiful hair. Everything slowed down, and I could see little intricate details about light shining off of particular hairs. And she was swaying from the impact, but everything was so slow motion that it was like a frame by frame. And then I had this whole conversation in my head, like, what is going on? Why is her door smashed? Who hit her? Where is the other car? By the time I got to the where is this other car, it felt like somebody pushed my head up to look through my windshield. And that's where I saw the guy in the car that hit her, went up over the Jersey barrier, and then was going to land in my lap. When I looked at this guy, his face was all contorted because he was screaming, obviously. Very scary situation. And our eyes kind of met for 1 minute. Well, a moment, I should just say, because everything was slow motion. And 1 minute felt like 10 minutes. So it was probably a split second. And then I went into this space where it was kind of, I was a little bit detached from the physical, and I could see what was going to happen. And what was happening was that the guy was going to land, or was landing on my lap. His car was going to roll over on top of mine. The top of the car was going to smash down on my head, snapping my neck, and then I was dead. So there was that whole thing where I saw it and I was disconnected from it all. And in that moment, I just kind of screamed and tried to duck down as much as possible, holding my steering wheel because he's about to land on my steering wheel. And I saw all of my immediate family, my kids, and I basically sat down individually with each person, had a whole conversation with them, individually, said my goodbyes. And then when the last person was done, it was like the presence was around me. I felt very guided and safe and protected, and all of the things that people associate with that near-death experience, the love and that spiritual presence. And I just said, okay, I'm ready. And then this peace came over me, and then it went black. And when it went black, I was then projected forward. And in that projection forward, it was like the tunnel. It was just coming at me and coming at me and coming at me. And then I came through the tunnel. And I came through it, and I was still holding my steering wheel, and I gasped for air because it was like like that, just as much air as I could get in my lungs. And then it was my consciousness came back into my being, and I felt like, oh my God, I almost just died. Oh my God, I should have been dead. Oh my God, I'm realizing, am I dead? Because I'm looking around at the highway during rush hour traffic, and there are no cars, not in front of me, not behind me, not on the other side. And when I was looking, saying, oh my God, am I dead? I see this one lone car come up on the other side going the opposite direction. And I was like, oh God, am I on the highway to heaven or hell, or what is going on? I ended up calling my mom, and I was like, what is happening? She answered the phone, and she's like, oh my God, Nikki, I was just praying for you. I usually pray for you in the morning. And she just went on this whole rant about how she felt the need to pray for me. And I said, all right, Mom, can you just shut up for a minute? Because I need to ask you a really important question. And I was like, am I dead? And she's like, what? No, you're not dead. And she just went off on this other thing. But it came down to, I really think that I died and got projected through to another dimensional me and merged with that, because everything changed after that. And before that even happened, I was super depressed, and I was fantasizing about death pretty much every moment of every day. And basically I'd find all these ways that I could exit out of the world, and then fantasize about it. And then I would talk myself back into reality and hanging on for a little bit longer, because I had these 3 kids at home, little kids. One was a baby. And it was because I had undiagnosed postpartum depression that escalated into deeper levels of depression. So every day I just wanted to die. So I really feel that I got that in that place, which is why I said my goodbyes and moved on, and then ended up coming back. When I came back through that tunnel and was still in my car, I calculated how far away I was, and I was over 2.5 miles away from the original occurrence.
Wow.
So somewhere in there, I was literally projected, or maybe maybe not necessarily my whole self and car projected, but my consciousness was projected to a different timeline dimension.
Mhm.
That where I came to, maybe that was the scenario where it was, maybe I left 10 minutes early, or whatever, and entered and merged consciousness with that Nicole.
Mhm.
Because I did find out on the anniversary date a year later that my friend had started a new job, and she was sitting at lunch with a bunch of people, and they were talking about that particular accident where a guy hit a woman, went up over the Jersey barrier, landed on another car, and him and the woman that he landed on were dead.
Okay. So your experience was you were in that accident, but now in this reality, that accident didn't happen to you. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
So weird, right?
That's what I'm like. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so yes, so that accident didn't happen to you, but the accident still happened.
Yes,
But it was just a couple miles in front of you or behind you?
behind me.
Behind you. Okay. So it just wasn't you, but you experienced that.
So I feel like I did experience that. I had to have jumped, quantum jumped into another dimension at the time of my death.
Did you like think at any time, I don't want to die or
Nope,
no. Okay.
nope, not at all.
Okay.
It literally was said my goodbyes and then, okay, I'm ready. And then this peace and love and just calm and stillness came over.
Hmm.
And I was like, all right, here we go.
So to your mom, it was just you're just being a little silly. Like, what are you talking about? You almost died. Or and so but for you, you're like, oh my goodness, what is happening right now?
Yeah, I told my mom what happened, and she was like, oh my God, you rode angel wings. And I was like, or a wormhole or whatever. I'm like, I rode something. That's for sure.
So since that moment, is that when everything has transformed?
Yeah, I was always a very intuitive person, a child, which was really what kind of got me blacklisted in my family in a way, because I grew up in a very religious household, and the things that I could see and knew and saw, I saw energy, auras, spirits, all that stuff, and I would say things that just weren't really accepted or weren't very godly, I guess, in some senses. And I shouldn't creep people out. So
So,
it was very, be quiet, don't go off on these weird things. Mom tried to exercise me a couple times.
mm,
And
it was,
there are a lot of great values in there, and there are also some limiting beliefs around, you know, understanding things at different levels. And I think I just didn't fit in that religious rules box.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
understand that. I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now talk to us about that. Like, so how has your mindset changed since that moment?
Yeah. So instantaneously, all the obsession with wanting to die completely gone. More of a drive and motivation and soul purpose ignition started happening. My visions were extremely um, intense and detailed. So I still have things that I had visions of back then that are still rolling out now. So it was like
Okay.
one after another. So they're constant and they amplify at different times continuously still. And it's the healing element to it. I was able to see a lot more in depth around what is happening inside someone and be able to deliver healing energy and facilitate that happening at a much more intensive level. I mean, I had somebody that I said, hey, can I try something on you? Because something is happening and I'm trying to understand it because I just know I need to do this. And when I worked on her, I got down to like where her feet were. And when I got down to where her feet were, she like sat up super fast and was like, what? What just happened? And I was like, are you okay? And did I do something? I'm just doing the thing here. And then she was like, no, it just felt like all of this stuff, like junk, just got sucked out of my body. And it felt like it was so intense that you should have been thrown across the room against the wall. So I had to look and make sure that you were okay. I was like, whoa, okay. Um, there's a whole bunch of stories that are just profound with being able to deliver positive transforming energy to people, whether it's in a healing sense or in shifting mindset and perception of your life and creating and manifesting whatever it is that you want.
You said visions. So do you have visions of like something that's going to happen in the future?
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Okay.
Dreams and
So
visions.
dreams and visions. Now, can you tell me what's the difference between just thinking, oh, this is, like, oh, I'm a creative writer and I'm envisioning my movie, and like I can envision it very vividly, like it's actually happening. What would be the difference between that and a vision?
So if you're envisioning something, you're more projecting what it is that you want to create. A vision is something that is more spontaneous, that happens, and it's something that you hadn't thought of before, that it's just information that's downloaded to you that you're able to see the sequence of events or energy around a situation, something like that,
Mhm.
that you weren't paying attention to, that you didn't have information on previously.
Okay. So would it look the same then in
It can look the same as far as if you think about a movie in your head, or you remember a memory, or so all of those things look the same. It's just the matter of what the information is, where it's coming from, and how it's being applied. If you have a vision, it's going to still look like a movie if you're a visual
right? Oh, okay.
person, right?
Right.
Because sometimes it's the different people have different ways in which they capture information. So the visions are usual the visual inner eye piece.
So how is that different from being psychic?
So it is a form of psychic energy,
Oh,
and it can just spontaneously happen for whatever reason. Being psychic is kind of a container for a lot of other things as well, because you can hear information. So I kind of have this sense of, because I've been doing it since I was a kid, I have an ability to tap into different forms. Usually I can hear, feel, and see things. And those are the three main pieces. Sometimes I smell things. I've been brought in to be a medium in various places to get information. And there was one where, in a very particular space, I was just kind of like hovering in this space. And I'm like, there's definitely a strong smell of cigars here. And the owner of the restaurant that I was actually navigating through had said, yeah, that the owner used to have a chair, a favorite chair in that spot, that exact spot that I was standing in, and used to smoke his cigars there. So there was a lot of different hits in that place. And there's there's that sense of when you're tapping into the energy, and if you're open to receiving it in whatever way that makes the most sense, you're gonna be able to get the most out of that psychic energy.
so then does it just come whenever and so you have to work with it? Or can you be like I'm gonna read you right now? Can you do that? Or how does
Yeah, you can do that. And you want to hone in on that by practicing it, by speaking what you see, and getting that confirmation from people when you first start out. So you can hone in on that ability and amplify it, because really it's just trusting your intuition and being able to release any form of judgment, because there's also an interpretation factor, because you'll get information and it's based off of the things that you already know. So you might interpret something in a certain way, with the information that you receive from spirit. For example, I was reading for somebody and I kept seeing this cross, this white glowing cross. And at first, because of my background with my home and religious stuff, I immediately had asked, oh, is this person, and I felt like it was an aunt or something, is this person religious? And the person sitting in my seat was, no, not religious. And so I was like writing some things down, and I was kind of like going through it. And as I unfolded the information, it was really, she was a nurse. So the cross related to, healthcare and being a nurse and that kind of thing. Had spirit just plopped a red cross in front of me, I may have had a different reaction, but there is an element of being able to interpret the information that's given.
Okay. So is this how you help clients? You kind of do readings? And my other question would be, so you're a psychic medium then, so you can read people and see entities? Is that
Yes.
okay?
And so, yes, I can see all of that stuff. I can, when I work with my clients, there's several things that people come to me for. A lot of people will come to me for like a healing session. So we'll do that. And that's, I just intuit what's happening. I'll have a little conversation with them, like how are they feeling things? And then I'll get hits on where the core problem really is. So sometimes they manifest in different areas, but it's based off of very specific other things. So that's the stuff that I'm looking for. And then, how to navigate that. Usually I go through the chakra system. So they'll tell me what their issue is, and I'll start feeling through the energy system that's going through them. And I'll feel it starts in this part. And then I'll articulate that to them, what it is that I'm feeling. So it might sound something like this. Oh, I feel that there's like a knot in the solar plexus area. And that might relate to their confidence and not trusting their own self to make the right decisions. And then that goes up to the heart, which doesn't allow them to be their authentic self. And if they don't feel like they can be their authentic self, it goes up to the throat because they're not speaking their truth. They're not being their authentic self, which then might go down to their root, which is because they didn't feel safe and secure to be able to XYZ. So it kind of goes through there, and I find where it goes back and loops back. So it doesn't always go through every single chakra center. It will loop and it'll create a blockage somewhere. So then I work on releasing that blockage with them.
Okay.
That's the way that people come to me for healing sessions, because I see auras and all that stuff. So I'm looking through all these different energy layers and clearing that stuff out. And a lot of times people will come to me for personal and or business assistance
Okay.
as well. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I work with a lot of business owners, and I do work with teams as well in different aspects. But when people come to me one-on-one for their personal and business, I mean, a lot of stuff that's personal comes out in business. So the beliefs, the negative limiting behaviors and sabotaging behaviors that people have, it all comes down to their beliefs, which is triggered from the programs that they've received when they were younger and the meanings that they assign to different things that have happened to them, whether it's traumatic or just, something else that they've assigned a specific meaning to. So when this happens, I only do this. So there's muscle memory through the body that needs to be navigated through. So I'll intuit, different pieces and work with them to release those negative patterns.
My first thought is do me. That's the question is as sorry, I have a cold. I'm still trying to,
That's okay.
I keep popping, what they call cough drops. I can talk to you. But I had a guy I was just talking to. He was a medium. That's he's only a medium, and so he had a different the psychic is one thing and a medium is another. But he said he can turn off when he doesn't want to talk to them. So I'm like, "Do you see anything?" And he's like, "Well, no, right now I shut things off." So is that how it is for you?
Yeah, it is like that. It's like that, especially for like the spiritual energies. It's usually pretty easy to shut it off, leave it off, and do that. I like to, if I know that I'm going to be brought into a place, or I know I'm going to be in a situation where I want to turn that on, I have my little process that I like to do, because I like to be in a very specific place with that and protected. And I've been brought into a lot of places where I was kind of the gauge, is there demonic activity here? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of times it's mostly, most of the time, it's it's just spirits that are confused or need some assistance and need to be crossed over. That's one thing that spirits come to me for, is crossing over. But when it comes to the aura, I like to say it's more like a dimmer switch, because there are little things that come out that will flare out. So it doesn't matter how low on the dimmer switch I put it. If something wants to come out, it's just going to come out anyway.
Okay. So you will see it so you walk around and like see auras then.
I do, and that's what I mean by the dimmer switches. I could turn it up and everything looks like the Pink Floyd laser light show,
Mm-hmm.
or I can dim it down and there's no big light shows, but there's sensations and a little bit of the color. Um, and then if I pay attention, the colors like just increase. But I don't just see color. I see like energy emanations. I see thought forms. I feel energy between people, and I also see like different geometric shapes and things like that mean different things.
Okay. And then you have to decipher what that means.
I've I've been doing it long enough that it's pretty easy now.
Oh,
But yeah, there was a time where it was really confusing, because people try to portray themselves as one thing, and there's a whole other world that's happening inside their heads and with the energy. So growing up, it was kind of like, well, why is this happening? And why do I always see this between these two people? But it looks like everything is honky dory, and
hmm
it's not. And I was really good at being in a room when someone was being interviewed or interviewing people, because if I could sit back and watch everything, I could see where their information is coming from. Is the information I was in science, so we had people that were, delivering data and presenting data, and, they kind of had to show their expertise in some
hmm
area.
hmm
And I could see if somebody actually processed the data, analyzed the data, and was involved, or if they had somebody else do it and they're just giving the talk
hmm
and trying to pass it off as their own. So it was a
hmm
really good gauge on, is this person really a team player and going to give people the credit that's deserved? Or are they just there to, have everybody else do it and then take the credit for it?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful night, and I wish you whatever is aligned, because I know that whatever is aligned is going to be the most fabulous journey for you. So I look forward to hearing how it turns out.
Thank you so much.
You're
We'll talk
welcome.
soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
The Zarlequan Indieverse.